We have nothing to fear for the future, except as we forget the way the Lord has led us in the past. Special light has been given me regarding the character and magnitude of the work to be carried out in Los Angeles. There is much to be done for suffering humanity, and sanitariums should be established for healing, restoring, and educating. We are to labor both for the health of the body and the saving of the soul.
This is the story of White Memorial Medical Center. It's a story of impossible dreams come true, of a people of faith, and a woman who was ahead of her time.
It's a tale of a lot of faith, a lot of prayers, and a lot of sacrifice.
We've got the kind of history you want to have.
As the sun rose on a new century, America was becoming a very different place. The early 1900s gave birth to the car, the radio, the Panama Canal. Soon the Wright brothers would fly, the Titanic would sink, and the world would be engulfed in war. Onto this stage stepped Ellen White, author, speaker, visionary, health reformer. She founded the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which now numbers more than 10 million members worldwide, and began what is today one of the largest healthcare systems in the world.
Ellen White had a very powerful idea.
She had a vision of making men whole, not just the physical, but the spiritual as well.
At a time when doctors could obtain their degrees in 6 to 9 months, she pioneered a higher standard of medical training in America. From her vision, the Seventh-day Adventist Church started its first medical school, now known as Loma Linda University. But the fledgling school lacked adequate patience, and pressure soon mounted to provide better clinical training, a crucial turning point that led to the founding of White Memorial. Shortly after Ellen White's death in 1915, an emergency meeting was called to determine the future of the Loma Linda Medical School.
They were moving on minute by minute toward the time of the final vote when 4 ladies, not voting members of the organization, asked to enter the room where the conference was held and asked to be heard.
And of course, the women were not about to allow these men to close down this institution. They waited outside and then deferentially, as it was the custom of the time, said, "You know, we know you men have heavy burdens to carry."
Representing the women of the denomination, we pledge a sum of $60,000 with which to build, construct a teaching hospital in the city of Los Angeles designed to provide clinical training for junior and senior medical students, said hospital to be named the Ellen G. White Memorial Hospital.
There was a hush in the room, and after that they adjourned. But the next morning, when they met again, it was, we do not say stop, we say go forward, and the vote was unanimous.
What had begun as a small clinic on East First Street, then a dispensary on Boyle Avenue, could now be called a hospital. The first patient was admitted in January of 1918.
The dedication was actually in April of that year. My parents and I were among those that migrated from Loma Linda to Los Angeles for that occasion. And Dr. McGann was making one of his famous orations when he was interrupted by an earthquake, and there was one of the carpenters standing on the roof, and he shouted to the group and said, "Don't be excited, this is just an earthquake." And following that, things settled down and Dr. McGann finished his speech.
The end of the First World War found the white making a place for itself in East Los Angeles. Those early years were marked by people of devotion. The hospital struggled along with the rest of America through the stock market crash of 1929 and the Depression of the 30s. By 1936, the picture looked brighter, and the original facility had become desperately inadequate. To answer the growing need, a new hospital was built, said to be one of the best constructed buildings in Los Angeles. As Allied forces liberated Europe and victory was finally won in the Pacific, the White continued to fulfill its mission as a teaching hospital. The 1950s were profitable years, and the hospital often operated at 100% occupancy. Still, there were challenges.
We had no nurses. Every day we had a group that met and we prayed that the Lord would send us nurses. And in all the troubles that I remember the White having, we always prayed that the Lord would help us through, and the Lord did.
Once again, success put a severe strain on the facility, and an ambitious building program was begun. In 1955, Vice President Richard Nixon helped dedicate a new 200-bed hospital wing. By the late 1950s, clouds were gathering on the horizon. The introduction of Medicare threatened to drastically alter the way healthcare was reimbursed. And as the Beatles invaded America and John F. Kennedy lay dying in Dallas, the long-standing teaching partnership with Loma Linda Medical School was in serious jeopardy.
There developed considerable pressure from the accrediting organization, which was essentially the Council on Medical Education of the AMA, that the medical school should be united on one campus.
So they just had discussions, heated discussions. And actually, after many hours, they took an action to build a new hospital out of Loma Linda and move the total College of Medical Evangelists out there.
And so they took all the medical students and much of the faculty and transferred them to Loma Linda University. This was devastating to the White.
You know, I used to come to work in the morning, and some employee that I was counting on had moved to Loma Linda, and we had to replace them. But I believe it was Providence that kept the place going. We all dug in and decided that the White Memorial was going to be a viable institution and we could make it on our own. And we did.
By 1970, the voice of Martin Luther King had been brutally silenced. Men had landed on the moon, and American troops were mired in Vietnam.
The 70s was the restoration period, and we were starting to really get going, and the residencies were in full blast, and the money seemed to be improving, and buildings were going up, and you could see that the hospital had a new resurgence.
The 1980s saw the fall of the Berlin Wall and signaled the end of the Cold War. The White faced another serious financial challenge, which led to a dramatic shift. The hospital repositioned itself from an academic teaching facility to what the community needed most, a primary care teaching hospital serving local needs.
White Memorial Residency Program in Family Medicine was established in 1988. Our goal was to not only teach them to be excellent physicians, but to really have the skills that will help them meet the needs of the community.
By 1987, the financial crisis reached its peak.
In the 80s, again, the White looked like it was in financial trouble, and even again, there were rumors about closing the White.
But as we were working our way through this, a mighty miracle happened.
The thing that really turned it around for this hospital was disproportionate share funds, SB 855.
The White Memorial is probably just from that one bill has received well over, I know, over $200 million in additional reimbursement because they stuck to their mission. They stuck to taking care of their community.
People recognize that what we do is pivotal. And a government program came on that was in fact on the mark. And it saved us, and it has done a great deal for this community.
I wouldn't have had the guts, excuse my language, to ask the Lord for that much money, but He gave it. And it's continuing on.
Throughout our history, the Lord has blessed and protected the White Memorial, and I'm fully confident that He will continue to do that into the future as we build a new facility to serve this community. And that hospital will have the best in terms of technology and facility, and we already know it has the best in terms of people.
The Lord has 1,001 ways to help the White or help any of our hospitals, but if we keep focused on our mission, why we're here, and God will, He may try us, we may have to persist, and it may be at the last minute, but praise God, He always comes through.
Reach out your hands and touch a life. Bring a little comfort in uncertain times. Pause for just a moment and whisper a prayer. You can fill a heart with hope and healing care. Ever since you began along the journey, even though it was many years ago, faith has been the light on the horizon.
I think that if Ellen Gould-White came to White Memorial today, she would be extremely proud of the fact that White Memorial is a true partner to the community and to the people of East Los Angeles.
This team has been dedicated to not only pursuing excellence, but making that excellence felt through the quality and the services that are provided to the residents of East Los Angeles.
I believe this institution is just on the threshold of some great times ahead.
If White Memorial can make it through its difficult times in the past, I'm absolutely confident it can make it through today and tomorrow.
The CEO will take care of that. That's God.
There's nothing to fear for tomorrow. You can leave any doubts behind. With every step comes a blessing and a promise that you will find. There's nothing to fear for the future, though there may be trials along the way. You will find there is peace tomorrow, remembering, yeah.